Constructive, but any extension of the 90-day tariff truce will need the green light from President Trump. Speaking after 2 days of negotiations in Stockholm, Bessent said the meetings showed momentum, but added nothing is agreed until we speak with President Trump. The current truce, which paused tariff hikes in May, is set to expire on August the 12th. Without an extension, tariffs could snap back, with US goods already facing a 10% levy in China, and Chinese goods hit by an extra 30% in the US. Bessent noted that the US is not seeking a full decoupling, but rather a de-risk strategy for sectors like rare earth minerals, semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. He also said talks touched on China's economic ties with Russia and Iran and existing agreements made by Trump and President Xi. While Bessent downplayed immediate risks of escalation, he stressed the final call remains with the president. Let's now listen in to what the trade representatives from both nations have said.
With respect to a potential pause, we're going to head back to Washington, D.C., and we're going to talk to the president about whether that's something that he wants to do. It's certainly something that's been under discussion, and so we'll brief the president on the outcome of this, and we'll see if there are any. We have further technical discussions that are happening right now as we speak among the teams, and so the president can make a final call on whether that's something that he wants to do.
当然，双方也就彼此的重要经贸关切进行了坦诚的沟通。
Of course, both sides also had candid exchanges over each other's major trade and economic concerns.
根据中美双方的共识，双方将继续推动美方已暂停的对等关税24%部分，以及中方反制措施，继续如期展期。
Well, we welcome Sharad Kohli, a senior economist, joining us live from New Delhi to briefly discuss these comments. Trump saying that he is making the final decision, or at least the US officials saying that Trump will make the final decision. Do you think that is the reality?
Good morning. I think there are three principal issues, if you see, between China and US trade deal. Issue number one is NVIDIA, you know that there were some restrictions on export of those chips being exported to China. And whereas the tech companies are quite happy that the restrictions have been relaxed and the chips are back to being exported to China. But some of the political circles within the US, they are against it because you'll be arming China on more tech grounds. They'll become more AI savvy. So which probably one lobby in the US doesn't want. That's first issue. The second issue between US and China is the rare minerals. I think with China placing restrictions, although some restrictions have been relaxed over the last few days, but then basic restrictions on import of rare minerals on which so many things depend, that's the second issue. Third issue to my mind is the structural difference between the two economies. I think there is a bit of a lobby within the US. They say that the US economy is quite structurally different from Chinese economy. So it doesn't really make it a very smooth case of making a deal. But I'm sure some kind of deal will have to be reached because the total bilateral trade between US and China is more than $500 million. And most of it is import. $400 million plus is import from China. And there is so much of US economy which is dependent on Chinese products, from chemicals to fertilizers to garments to electronics. I think US will find very hard to say no to this deal because the volume of bilateral trade is very large. So I'm sure President Trump will be pragmatically thinking about what is to be done. And we might see some kind of a deal coming through. And we should not forget that China has also threatened US with reciprocal tariffs. So I think US may also face trouble if it doesn't get into this deal, apart from facing inflation, because a lot of Chinese goods being used by common man in the US are being imported from China.
Yes, absolutely. Sharad Kohli, I'm really sorry that we don't have more time. We have overrun on the programme, but thank you so much